everyone. My name is Sarbjeet. I manage this group that we're in, Business Analyst in Demand. I just changed the name from something that was prior. I welcome you guys to this case study. If you guys are new to the group, welcome. There's lots of training that we've done, training that you'll find on various topics within the business analyst domain. Today, we're going to start a case study and we'll go through that. A little bit of background about me. I've got about 15 years of experience as a BA, as a PM. I've managed teams of BAs. I've started this group just because I've felt like there's lots of people that I work with. I still do work. There's lots of people that just don't understand the concepts around how to do business analysis well. So I've started this group as a give back to my own community. This career has given me much more than I had expected. I remember when I was in college, I used to think if I reached a certain point in my career, I would quit just because I just wanted to make it. But this career has helped me and my family in a number of ways, more than I can count right now. And I want to give back. I want you guys to help and train you guys so that you all can be successful and have great careers like I do. What we're going to go through today is I'm going to give you a framework. More and more people are having to do case studies for interviews as a business analyst. I'm going to give you a framework that you can follow over and over again, regardless of which case study that you're presented with. And what we're going to do is do things that you typically would as a business analyst if you were assigned to a real project in the real world scenario. So what I'm giving you is a framework. We're going to do everything together. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing things on my own and presenting them to you guys. We did that maybe 6 months ago. You guys can find the past training in this group. And I think the feedback that I got from doing that case study is everybody that joined me didn't understand how I got to the end result. So for this one, it's going to take us several weeks to complete this case study, but the goal is for you guys to be here with me, and I'll talk about the thought process and also participate and make it better. What I'll do is I bring my experience and my background, but that's just one way of doing things. Over my career, I found that there's many ways of doing the same thing and getting to the same result. What I'll be presenting you with is my background and how I've done things. So this case study that we're working on is called Acme Systems. So again, my intro, I have 15 years of experience managing multi-million-dollar projects for Fortune 50 companies. I have extensive waterfall and agile background as a business analyst, as well as a project manager. I'm a certified project manager, but my passion lies with business analysis. So that's why I've created this group for you guys. I still am working. I work full-time. What I like to teach is a hands-on approach. I don't do good with textbook stuff just because that's not how I learned. I don't have CBAP. I don't think it's needed for you to be a successful business analyst. Lots of people ask me, should I go for the certification? If you ask me, my personal preference is you should have some working experience and then take the certification to enhance your chances of additional opportunities. But in the beginning, from my, again, personal preference, it's more important that you understand what the role of a business analyst is. So I'll just put that out there. That's one of the questions that are most asked of me. And that's my personal preference is first get yourself some experience and not the textbook stuff. Because when you guys talk about the textbook stuff in interviews, people can pick that up right away. So get some hands-on experience. That could be through volunteering. That could be through these case study projects, because we're going to go through the motions as you would of a BA. In these case study sessions as well. What is this case study that we're going to be doing? It's going to be a hands-on approach. All the work will be done during training sessions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing work outside of these sessions because I want you guys to have the full experience of doing these yourself. I want you to think about as you would a business analyst in the real world scenario. So this case study mentioned to you that I'm presenting to you a framework, right? Made this checklist. I want you guys to follow this, not just for this case study, but any case studies, or even when you're working on a project, you can use this checklist as a starting point just to make sure that you have centered yourself and you're thinking about this in the right way. So first, we're going to read the case study to understand goals of objectives of the system. We only talk about IT projects in this group as a business analyst. There may be other forms of business analysis work out there, but my background is implementing IT systems, enhancing enhancing IT systems. So that is the framework of what this group is. So that's why that's the first thing. You always want to understand the case study or your project to understand what is the overarching goal and objective of the project that you're working on. You want to understand the deliverables that are required as part of the case study. You want to understand the SDLC format. Are we working in the waterfall environment or are we in the agile environment? And if one is not specified, you pick which one you're most comfortable with. Waterfall is still pretty widely across the industry. I know agile, lots of companies are making the transition into agile, but waterfall still is used in many corporations. So if you feel most comfortable with waterfall, use waterfall. And ask questions about the case study if you can. Most of the time, people are presented with this case study when they are preparing for interviews. Typically, if you're presented with a case study, you can go back and ask questions. But if that's not a scenario that you're in, then try to do the best you can with the information that you have. The next thing, and again, this is a checklist for you as a framework. What you want to do when you're working on a case study is to document assumptions. In real projects, we call these constraints, and there's another term that I'm missing right now, but you always want to document your assumptions when you're working on a case study. These become like your guide rails, meaning if something is not clear, if you put it down in your assumptions in the case study, that eliminates you from expanding on those items. But you obviously don't want to have too many assumptions where your project is very narrow. But when you're working on a case study, as we will on this one, we'll document some assumptions which help us kind of streamline and focus on the task at hand, and we'll do that together. You want to create use case diagrams. Use case diagrams are used for you to understand interactions with the system, whether it be the primary user, whether it be secondary users, whether it be secondary systems where you're getting input or output. So use case diagrams are used at a high level so that you can identify how the systems are interacting either with users or other systems. And it's also used to use case diagrams also help you identify major functions of the system that are needed. Like for example, if we're talking about Amazon, the major functions are for a customer to go search for products, for a customer to go buy products, for a customer to go return products. And then that's a primary user customer, but then another user is the sellers that are selling on Amazon. And then the secondary, systems could be, payment processing. So there's so many things that are connected with Amazon, for example, and you use case diagrams in a way that helps you identify all the interactions that are needed with the system. You always want to start with use case diagrams. I do anyway, because they help me understand what it is that I'm dealing with, to make sure that I haven't skipped anything or left anything out. The third thing that I always do is I create workflow diagrams to showcase current state functionality. Again, we're working with IT systems. Regardless whether there is no system and you're building something from scratch, there's got to be manual processes that people are doing as of today. What you do in that scenario is you document those manual processes so that way you understand what it is the business is trying to accomplish. The next thing is to create to-be workflow diagrams to showcase future state functionality. So let's say you're bringing in a system to do the 10 things that they're doing manually today. You would document how the business is perceiving to do those things in the future state. The next item is to create requirements for the future state. That could be in business requirements document. That could be in user stories if you're in the agile environment. And if you're writing user stories, you're also writing the acceptance criteria. The next is to create prototypes, and then the last one is to present the case study. So again, this is a framework, a checklist that you guys can use over and over again when you are working on a case study, or if you are working as a business analyst or preparing for a business analyst interview. So this is the one that we're working on today. This is called Acme Systems. It says Acme Systems is a world leader in providing software for the hotel industry. Our customer Byford Hotels has requested us to create a system which should allow the following. So these are the three components that they're talking about. They are also our personas and our main users of the system, right? So they're saying that a cleaning staff, a person who have app installed on their mobile phone, cleaning staff visits locations/rooms assigned to him or her to clean the room. And the supervisor is a person who verifies the work of the cleaning staff. And admin is a person who assigns a location/room to cleaning cleaning staff and assign supervisor to the same. So this is a scenario that we're working with. Here's the requirements. It says the cleaning staff to start his shift, log into the app, then he visits the room location which has been assigned to him by admin. He starts the timer while selecting the location. He does the cleaning and fill the checklist with comments if any. Once done, he submits the report and marks the task complete and so on. The supervisor visits the room/locations assigned to him. He pulls out the details of the staff who cleaned the location. He verifies the work and assigns the rate to each item. Once done, he finally rates the work. The admin allocates room location to cleaning staff and supervisor. The cleaning staff and supervisor can service multiple locations and or rooms, and what they want from us is to write an SRS document with functional point and wireframes for the web application. Okay, now so as I said, we're going to do this together. What are the goals and objectives of this case study? Goals and objectives are building a mobile app, hotels, right? That's what we're doing. We're building a mobile app to help manage and track progress of cleaning staff for a group of hotels. The deliverables they want from us are SRS and wireframes. So if they're saying SRS, that automatically tells me that they're in the waterfall environment and not in agile. So if they were in the agile environment, they would be requesting user stories. From a business analyst standpoint, SRS is systems requirements solution. So for this case study, we can work on a SRS. I feel like we can do agile. Wireframes are typically like prototyping. So we'll do that. And then in addition, in order to get to user stories and wireframes, we'll have to do a lot of the analysis, right? Of the use case diagrams and the workflows I just talked about. So those kind of are behind the scenes for us to get to these deliverables. So while they only want these, we'll have to work on those so that we get to these deliverables. So SDLC we're going to be using is Agile. And if there's a way to ask questions, what questions would you ask from this case study? APIs is a connection to a different system where you can pass information, right? So they're web services, basically. From a BA standpoint, you don't, again, I'm talking about my experience in the United States. United States business analysts are not required to be as technical as they are in India. But from my experience, from a business analyst experience, all you need to do is document which APIs or web services need to be called and what data needs to either pass through or come back as a result of that web services or API. So as a business analyst, you just need to document that API that you need to connect with and what interaction points need to happen. So if the API that you're calling is a payment processing, vendor, right? So then all it does is process payments. If it's straightforward like that, then all you need to identify is the API that's going to be called and just document in your requirements that using this API, which is to process payments, to process credit card payments for X vendor. But there are other APIs or web calls that may be a little bit more complicated where, doing payment processing, you're pulling in information, let's say on somebody's on their inventory, right? Then you need to specify what information needs to be pulled, what the time frame of that information. Should it be a daily pull, like a nightly batch process, or should it be like a live feed? So those are the requirements that you need to capture if it's like a more complicated, like if it's a data-based API that you're working with. So if it's simple as, running credit card payments, that's all it does, then all you need to do is mention the API, mention the systems, and you're good. But if it's like I said, if you're pulling like inventory numbers from a database or something like that, then you need to specify when that API should be connecting, when the data is supposed to be coming. Is it real time? Is it a nightly batch? Things like that. So let's move on. Any assumptions that you guys can think of as of now? Second assumption could be, do we want to make this for that particular group of hotels, or do we want to make this app for all hotels to use, right? So that's something that we have to identify. For now, let's just make this mobile app for a group of hotels. Because now let's say if we were making this app for all hotels to use to manage their cleaning staff, then the requirements and the project becomes much bigger. So by documenting this assumption, We're making it much smaller because we're now only going to need to feed in their own hotels, right? And not hotels across the globe. So that's an assumption that we're going to make so we can kind of limit the scope of this project. And let's say Byford Hotels has, let's say 10 hotels in the same state with the same time zone. Mobile app that we're creating is only for this particular group of hotels and not hotels across the globe that they can use this app. So lots of apps are created industry-wide, right? Like Uber Eats. Anybody can use Uber Eats as long as the restaurant's connected to them. This mobile app that we're building for this case study is only for that particular group of hotels, and they have 10 hotels in the same state with the same time zone. So what this does is it narrows down the scope of the project, so you don't have to worry and think about how to create an app that could be used by hotels across the world. You only have to focus on the 10 hotels that they have in their own chain. Can we say that one supervisor per hotel? 200 is decent. So now we're dealing with 10 supervisors, 10 hotels, 10 supervisors, and then each hotel has 200 rooms for this supervisor to assign staff to. Cleaning staff, shifts, let's go with 2, morning and evening. So we have started to think about users already, which is a good thing. Now let's start creating a use case diagrams. I use a tool called draw.io. It's free to use. It's a little buggy sometimes, but it works. So for Acme Solutions, we need to create a person who's a user, right? So who's going to be the primary user of this app? Who else? Anybody else, you guys? Okay. Now, what is the cleaning staff? How are they going to be using this app? Okay. What else? So that's the check schedule, right? Supervisor has to assign something, and when they can check schedule. What else is the cleaning staff going to do? I saw some notes, or maybe like a done thing, like where they can hit done, update status. Okay. Anything else? Okay. For the supervisor, what is the supervisor going to be doing? So we were talking about APIs. I could see one API here is this mobile app needs to be connected to the hotel reservation system, right? So that the supervisor knows which rooms to assign for cleaning, right? And the types of cleaning. So there's when somebody's in a hotel and they're just cleaning, making the bed, taking the old towels out, and then when somebody checks out, there's I hope a deeper cleaning where they're going in and changing the bed sheets completely, changing the towels and all that stuff. So assign rooms to staff, assign type of training, assign type of cleaning. So I think it's the admin just needs to know that things are getting done. It's the supervisor allocating staff to the rooms, but the supervisor I saw is also rating staff, is rating the cleaning for the staff, right? Okay, I'll just say rating. Anything else, you guys? So we need to know hotel reservation system. We may also need to be connected to the inventory, cleaning supplies, right? What else? For the admin, what does the admin need to do in this app? I guess cleaning progress. What else does the admin need to do? Maybe also we need to pull in payroll for this, right? So based on hours worked or rooms cleaned, we need to pay these people. So you guys see how we went from not knowing too much about the case study to now thinking about what things we need to solve for and what things need to be included into this project. And that's the power of creating use case diagrams, because they help you think outside of the box. They help you and force you to think about things that are needed in your system for either whether you're doing an enhancement on an existing system or whether you're building something from brand new that doesn't exist. So these are the things that you would consider when you're building, when you're working on any project. So this is why use case diagrams are extremely helpful, and they're used. So now what I'm doing is I'm linking the actor. These are called actors. These are the primary actors go into the left-hand side, and then the secondary actors within the system go onto the right-hand side of the use case diagram. To showcase interactions between these systems, we put them on the left-hand side. We're logging in. The cleaning staff needs to log in. They need to check their schedule. They need to start their timer. They need to update their notes, and they need to update the checklist. While I'm making updates to this diagram. If you're working, you will be given a tool called Microsoft Visio. For now, that's a enterprise-wide tool. I don't have access to that. So for now, I'm using this tool called draw.io. It's free to use and it's web-based. And you can use this tool for any of your diagramming efforts. So if you're creating use case diagrams, if you're creating workflow diagrams, if you're creating activity diagrams. So you can use this tool, this free tool that's available for any of your diagramming needs as a business analyst. And if you don't have experience in using these tools, I would invite you to play around with this tool. It's available for you guys for free. Create a workflow for how you make a cup of coffee, for example. The way that, doing these workflows and diagrams help you think in a logical way, which is typically what's needed as a business analyst. You need to develop your analytical mindset, which means that you need to think about a process and identify steps that you need to take to complete a particular process. So now the supervisor, let's create arrows for the supervisor. So the goal here is to kind of identify cross-functional things, right? So when a supervisor is going to be, like, let's say the supervisor also needs to update notes, right? The supervisor is going to update it for the cleaning staff or need to review those notes. So the goal of creating use case diagrams when you're creating users is to show also the interaction between the different users that you have. So not as only as the supervisor also is going to assign staff to rooms, the staff is also going, what we're trying to showcase here is the cross interaction between our different users. So just because the staff is gonna rate the staff, it's not the staff, but the cleaning, I think the staff should also have access to see what those ratings have been, right? So here we're seeing what we're doing is making this available to the cleaning staff as well. And the goal of, showcasing what each person is doing. Obviously, there's an interaction between the supervisor and the cleaning staff, and then the supervisor and the admin. And you want to showcase those activities in a use case diagram. So maybe where we have put assign staff to rooms or check schedule, maybe we should have put the supervisor here, but what I want to do here is also create this to showcase it's the supervisor that is checking, also needs to check the schedule to see who all is already assigned to particular rooms or for the timing and everything. What we also need to do for the supervisor is to show availability for the staff, right? So maybe we put that here. So the staff maybe has to put in their availability or work hours so that the supervisor can go ahead and assign staff based on their availability. And then we would have an arrow also going there. Hotel guests should also have access to this and provide preference. The supervisor should be able to add, preferences for the guests that are staying in the hotel for their cleaning preference, like maybe add extra towels or leave extra bottles of water. So I think that's where we did put notes, login, check schedule, timer, notes. So you see how now we identified major things that would need to be built in this solution. Now we're showing the interactions between the different users, which would then help us build better user stories and better requirements for our system. So now the secondary actions, hotel reservation system, I would imagine that this would be linked to checking schedule, maybe to see, not checking schedule, but where would this be linked? Maybe we need another bubble. Oh, actually, it should be linked to the admin, right? Actually, I don't know where it should be linked. Maybe it is scheduled because you're not scheduling people unless you have guests that are staying in the hotel. So how about we do this bubble for this admin to do is the hotel reservation system. So just hotel reservations, right? So this is what the admin is responsible for. And based on how many reservations we have, then the supervisor is assigning staff to that, right? Like this. So the cleaning supplies inventory, I don't know, maybe in the notes, they would say what items they've used, and maybe we can link that. So update checklist, maybe we can link the checklist in a way, the way that we create this checklist to say how many items have been used, I guess. I'm not concerned about towels or things like that, but like bottled water, coffee, things that they would need to order externally based on, the number of guests that are in the system or in the hotel. And then payroll also, I think, is directly related to the number of reservations that we have at the hotel. Inventory is going to be based off of what the cleaning staff is updating. For sure, it's not a cleaning staff function. We would get that information from what the cleaning staff is updating. We are at time for today. Let me go back to the case study. I'll copy and paste this into the PowerPoint because this is a case study, because this is a land of make-believe. We'll just make assumptions on creating a way that they're doing this today, just so that you guys have practice going through how to create as-is workflows. All right, guys. All right, bye everyone. All right, take care. And it's also my daughter's birthday today. So I'll see you guys later.